There's a secret playbook to the human body, and over the last 10 years, I've been working tirelessly to uncover its secrets. Not only as a self-experimental young adult, a medical patient, and now over the last several years, working from the inside in my own company. The purpose of this video is to save you and your body 10 years of trial and error, hundreds of thousands of dollars of experiments, and all of the hassle of working your way into the medical industry. We're gonna cut all of it out and jump right to what works. Before we get started, it is important to note that I'm not a doctor and nothing I say in this video should be considered medical advice. And if you're going to follow through with anything that we talk about today, please make sure you're only doing so under the direct supervision of a medical professional who is a specialist in this field. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. Starting with part one, I'm just going to jump right to what was the most impactful lesson I learned in all of my years, and that is to do anything at the highest level, it requires the smallest attention to detail. That's true for anything. Athletics, academics, business, pick something. The person who's going to have the most success is not going to be the person who you see doing the huge big action all the time. It's not the football player who's in the gym constantly throwing up bench press and just trying to get as jacked as possible. It's the guy who's working on his basic footwork, watching game film, learning the small little intricate details about the game to make sure he's the best on the field. This doesn't change for performance medicine. The winner here is not just the guy who can blast a ton of TRT. Although you guys know, I fully believe hormones are probably the most important makeup of our entire body, second to maybe mitochondria. That doesn't mean we should spend all our time there. In all honesty, TRT is quick and easy. You do it a couple times a week and you keep your dose steady and you make sure your hormones don't fluctuate. That takes all of 3 minutes a day. The person who really gets the edge here is not the guy who's blasting to the gills. It's the person who's focusing on a full body approach. Human optimization is a never-ending journey. That's why I love it so much. The highest level of human optimization has many forms: diet, exercise, sleep, stress management, organ function, athletics, mental health. The list goes on and on. The way I like to attack human performance comes from two angles: physique and aesthetics. So how do we physically look? What's our muscle density to fat ratio? All of the things you see in the vanity of Instagram. Make fun of me, whatever. We all want to look jacked. And then the overall picture of our internal health. One usually leads to the other. What do our biomarkers say? What do our organs say? Is everything in the body functioning at the highest level and healthiest level possible? It's very easy to get caught up in the minutia on either side of these. There's people who just say, I just want bigger biceps. I want to get bigger and bigger and bigger. That guy usually ends up having some sort of heart issue later or some sort of organ failure because they've compromised their entire health just to have bigger muscles. But looking jacked and being healthy is way cooler. Where people are so hyper obsessed about their VO2 max and getting 10 hours of sleep, and in the hyper obsession of this, they forget to live their lives and they certainly don't have a physique that I would envy. What's always worked for me the best, and the people I see have the most success, is that taking a full approach to everything health and wellness usually works better. Not only how good can we make you look, but how good can we make you on the inside? And that usually starts with some level of blood work and diagnostics to address what your shortcomings are, as well as tailoring your diet, training, rest, recovery to make sure you look the way you want to look. Part two is a direct counter to part one, and that is not to overstress about everything health and wellness. In a lot of scenarios, people who overstress about these fine details end up causing way more damage than the actual benefit of the work they're doing. Yes, it's important to note that the small details matter, but that doesn't mean that you should hyper obsess about them and freak out if it doesn't go your way. I've gotten caught in this trap myself dozens of times. Especially in high stress moments of your life, it's easy to resort to health and wellness as your escape, but sometimes that escape becomes a prison of its own. When we're chronically stressed, our body ends up releasing way higher levels of cortisol, and if you didn't watch my last video on the stress stack, I would absolutely recommend going and watch that because stress can become a detrimental part to the human body. What we're seeing now today, because health information is so much more accessible than it used to be, which I believe is a good thing, but some people are over-analyzing it and spending all day looking at their biomarkers, reading their Whoop by the hour, and just hyper-obsessing about the things that don't really matter. I'll tell you one thing that's really easy for me to get hooked into. Every single morning, I'm checking my Whoop right away. I don't have any sort of deal or arrangement with Whoop, but I will say I get caught in this every single day. I want to know what my sleep score was, and I want to know if the things I'm doing are working to optimize my rest and recovery. This is ultimately what led to me not drinking nearly as much as I used to, because every time I would just see the drastic drop in recovery. So there are benefits that come in analyzing the details, but you don't want to spend every single day hyper evaluating every little thing you did trying to sleep better, because then what's going to happen when you're sleeping is you're thinking about, oh man, man, I got to get this score. And you start freaking out about this score when you're starting to miss the whole point, which is just rest and recover. The same obsession that can fix you can end up being the same one that breaks you down. The best solution for myself, as well as what I've seen work really well for others, is focus on what you can control. I do see a lot of people that struggle with this concept. I'll give you a really basic real world example before I get into the medical side. If it's raining outside, there's a lot of people who are going to sit there and say, oh my gosh, it's raining outside. I can't go do XYZ thing, or I'm not going to be able to do what I wanted to do today, or I can't go out there. It's raining outside. And you start using this rain to make excuses for your shortcomings. Well, guess what? You can't control the rain and you're not going to be able to make it stop. What you can do is pack an umbrella. All of a sudden, the rain doesn't affect 90% of the stuff you were going to go do. It's the same thing in performance. Maybe you didn't sleep so good last night and you got a 40% recovery. Does that mean you need to hyperfixate on that 40% and self-analyze everything you did that day and then worry about that 40% going into your next sleep? No, just do what you were going to do anyway. These data points should not consume you. They should just help guide your decisions, which helps bring me into part 3 very smoothly, which is everyone's decisions should be completely different because everyone's body is different. This is probably the single most annoying part of the health and fitness industry, is everybody wants to tell you that their way is the only way to do anything. What worked amazingly for one person is not going to work amazingly for the next. Just the same, what went horribly for one guy might be the solution for someone else. Why? Because our bodies are made up of drastically different DNA. Every year of your life, you have been mutating your body based on your experiences, your intake. Everything that has shaped who you are as a person is going to change the way anything is going to work on you. I can't tell you how many different comments I got on my last Wolverine stack video where some people are telling me, I use this and it cured X problem I had, my Achilles rupture, my whatever it is. This product works incredible. It's life-saving. Then I get the other side of people saying, this peptide's trash. It's so overhyped. It didn't work for me, so it shouldn't work for anybody else. You shouldn't recommend this. And I sit there and I wonder, it's like, just because it didn't work for you doesn't mean it's bad. Some people react better to certain things than others. This took me a very long time to grasp because for so long, I went through this minutia of, gosh, I don't know who to listen to. This one's got this advice. This guy's got that advice. Both of them have the physique I want. This guy's got the health I want and the life I want. Who do I listen to? And I end up trying to jumble all their stuff together. And that's where I found the real answer is trial and error. And I have made an incredible life out of doing so. True trial and error. I'm not just talking about, okay, this guy recommended this workout style to me, or this guy recommended this diet. I'm going to try those and see if it works. Yes, that's the baseline entry level of it, but it goes even further than that. Go try it for yourself and make those decisions yourself. In my younger years, I wasn't somebody who had a ton of confidence. I also happen to have lower testosterone, so probably those two things lined up together. But once I got to about 23, I had been burned so many times by other people's advice, whether that'd be on investments or what I should do with my life, what I should do with my career, whatever it is. I just realized nobody ever really knows the answer. It's not worth listening to anyone's advice. The only true answer is trial and error. And what you'll learn in that process along the way is so much more valuable than just being handed the answer from anyone, because that's not going to teach you anything. We don't learn from success. We only learn from our failures. You have to learn every way that you don't want to live your life before you learn how you want to live your life. A lot of people, I think, are looking for the opposite. They want it to be easy. They want the finished product. The moral of the story is it's way more valuable to learn about your body, to learn about what you really value instead of listening to what other people tell you you should value. The entire purpose of my page is to be a documented version of that. I will never sit here and tell you guys this is what you should do, or there's only one way to take peptides, hormones, GLPs, diet, anything. But I'm going to sit here and show you guys these are all the things I'm trying. Here's what's working for me. If you want to try any of this stuff, try and see if it works for you. Which moves me into part 4, because I know there's some of you who are firing up your grubby little fingers to get in the comment section. Well, why don't you just follow the science and the peer-reviewed studies for all of this stuff, and then you would know exactly what to do. The reason, Gregory, is that after being in this industry for the last several years, I'm now finding out this science changes all the time. And any true medical professional who has really been in this industry for the long haul knows that that's the case. The only people that ever try to disprove that are people that have not been in the medical industry or people that are barely in it. Science and medicine changes as the wind blows. I have countless examples of this, but for the time's sake of this video, I'll give you guys just a couple. For decades, doctors recommended bed rest for back pain. Well, it was easy to justify. The science made sense for why rest joins with an injury. Later, research showed that active active movement was actually the best thing for a back injury. That same science might get refuted again. Take eggs and cholesterol. For centuries, this was a staple of our diet. It was everything healthy that we needed as human beings. Then all of a sudden, the science said that eggs and cholesterol were the enemy and that it was going to cause heart failure and we were going to need statins. Now, all of a sudden, eggs and cholesterol aren't so bad anymore. I know what I believe, but again, I could be wrong. That could change again. Hormone replacement therapy started off as a medical revolution, life-changing medication. Then the science and the medical industry shifted into, there are crazy risks associated with this. This is going to cause cancer. You're likely going to end up dying early. Now, all of a sudden, everything is shifting back to, wait a minute, optimized hormones offer a countless array of benefits that are going to provide lasting change in our bodies. I could keep going with protein, sunlight, all the things, but you guys get the point. That to be said, that doesn't mean we shouldn't have any source of truth when it comes to how we make our decision. All I'm saying is it's ridiculous to sit here and say that only this thing should be done this one way because this is what the science says. That science changes all the time, which very perfectly brings me to part 5. We're kind of on a roll right now. I didn't plan it to work this way. The real answer to the science is do what works for you. If it's having positive impact in your life, it does not matter what anyone else says. It does not matter what science says. It does not matter what the smartest man in the world says. If it is making a positive impact in your life or someone else's, there is no reason to change it based on what science says. So the real point here is, if 300 grams of protein a day is working better for you than 1 gram per pound of body weight, keep doing it. If your blood and biomarkers say that you're healthier for doing this, why would you change it? There's no reason to listen to some BS doctor who's going to tell you, oh, you should cut that down to 200. Too much protein can cause whatever problem. It's working. As we head into the last 2 parts of this video, I do want to take a second to let you guys know that if you are interested in improving the human body or improving anything about human optimization, I do have a company, otmens.com, where we take all of this into account. This is exactly how we practice medicine. We have board certified physicians who are specialists in this exact type of medicine, who have been around the gambit, who understand the shortcomings of the traditional medical system and can create optimized protocols for you that can help get you to your goals faster without having to worry about misinformation. Again, whether or not you choose to go with my company is entirely your decision, but I do fully believe that you should only be working with specialists when it comes to anything human optimization. Okay, let's get back to the video. In today's world, genetic shortcomings are almost all reversible. This gave me a lot of hope when I found this out for the first time, because I am not somebody who grew up with great genetics. I grew up incredibly skinny fat, meaning I was gaining fat in all the worst places, except for the places that I wanted it, which was my arms, my shoulders, and my chest. I just had this little gut. Even though I was working out to no end and gaining some muscle, all of my size seemed to go to the wrong places. I had tons of acne, and I looked like a 12-year-old by the time I was graduating high school. This gave me a lot of hope because I am not somebody who grew up with incredible genetics. Specifically hormonally, by the time I was graduating high school, I still looked like a 12-year-old boy, which not only impaired me athletically, but also developmentally in every area of my life. It can become a very defeated mindset when you see everybody else starting to develop past you. This has become all too common, especially in adolescent men. Thankfully today we have things like enclomiphene, where younger people don't have to jump to things like TRT, which are going to turn off your natural testosterone production and come with certain risks that we have to be aware of. Things like enclomiphene can be really helpful to unblock that pituitary connection to make sure that we're producing the optimal hormone levels without running into some of those later risks that we will with TRT. Same thing when it comes to height deficiencies. You could now do things like IGF and growth hormone therapies in order to counteract some of those genetic shortcomings. More than anything, it's mitochondrial function. Most people don't realize this is the root cause of almost all of their problems because it's not taught in medical school, and it probably never will be. But at the core level, every piece of our body is made up of cells. And in order for those cells to act the way we want them to, it needs mitochondrial power. So if our gut is messed up, if our hormones are not being produced, if our brain doesn't work, if any shortcoming that we're having is happening, typically it can be solved with adapting our mitochondria to operate at the level they need to be. I think a lot of people would find that a lot of the shortcomings they're experiencing can be solved with science, and it's actually not that complex. That moves me to my final point. If there's any point to pay attention to in the video, it's this one right here, and that's that the human body is far more capable than we have ever given it credit for. We underestimate our own potential for everything, for physical performance, for healing, for mental performance, for spirituality, emotion, everything about the human body. We are underutilizing our capability. There have been few people throughout history who've tapped into this next level of being. Now, there are people who are, of course, genetically blessed into freak athletes, but there are also people who realize what is truly possible when you access the human body and the human human mind and use them to the degree by which they're capable. There are incredible stories from people like Joe Dispenza, who had paralyzing injuries, who spent 8 hours a day meditating, focusing on his body to heal his spine, and then said after weeks he was able to walk again. All the way down to my own self-experimentations of improving my own mitochondria and what that was able to do for my physical, mental performance. And there are so many other scenarios of people who are tapping into this. And I believe this is the day of modern medicine where we are really finding what our bodies are capable of. There are people who are going to take it to the extreme over the next several years. I believe we're going to see an entirely different human species over the next 10 years as we find more and more information about how to access this higher level. So look, guys, if you like finding ways to improve the human body and you want to become the highest level of human that you can, I post 2 videos like this every single week where I go over one way to improve some method of the human body. If you want to watch more, hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications so you don't miss the next one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.